Some players save for retirement, but others drain their own bank accounts in ways you wouldn't believe. This is how NFL players spend their checks. Dez Bryant used to be among the highest paid wide receivers in the NFL when he played for the Cowboys. And let's put this politely, he had a thing for flashy jewelry. But he bought so much that even his hefty salary couldn't cover the costs. In 2011, he was sued for $200,000 in unpaid jewelry, followed shortly by another lawsuit totaling $800,000 for more jewelry expenses. After all that, you'd think he would have learned his lesson, but instead he just kept on icing himself up worse than a fat kid's birthday cake. In 2016, he spent another $200,000 alone for custom jewelry to celebrate his continued Cowboys tenure. Ugh, are you shaking your head too? While Dez was a star for the Cowboys, he never shined quite as brightly as this next player. Patrick Mahomes loves to spend his dough, but to his credit, he's also made some savvy investments to secure his wealth down the line. One thing he's spending plenty of checks on is his new home, which includes a par 4 golf hole and a football field with his logo on it. He still had an extra $10 million kicking around, and he wanted to make sure that he was tied to Kansas City beyond his playing days, so Mahomes bought a stake in the Kansas City Royals, the city's Major League Baseball team. Mahomes isn't the only football player to purchase a stake in another sports franchise. Aaron Rodgers bought an ownership percentage of the Milwaukee Bucks, but in 2017 he made a purchase that made him one of the best teammates on the planet. One time, Aaron Rodgers wanted to show his teammates some big-time appreciation, so with one of his checks, he bought his entire offensive lineman personalized ATVs as Christmas presents. The gesture cost Rodgers over $100,000, but that's nothing when you make $50 million per season. And I'm sure the New York Jets lineman will be counting down the days until Christmas now that Rodgers is lining up behind center in the Big Apple. Hey Aaron, add us to your Christmas shopping list, bro. Speaking of superstar quarterbacks, this next legend is a little more concerned about splurging on luxurious items for himself than he is about giving to his teammates. Tom Brady might have taken a team-friendly salary when he played for the Patriots, but that didn't stop him from spending beyond your dreams. He's got a wild real estate portfolio headlined by a $20 million waterfront mansion in Florida. And he still had enough to buy a 77-foot super yacht for $6 million, a $3 million Bugatti Veyron, and a stake in Birmingham City soccer team. All right, Brady, we get it, you're super fabulous. While Brady has made plenty of money investing in various real estate projects, up next is a player that, wasn't quite as fortunate. Dermontti Dawson thought he could invest his NFL earnings into real estate to become even richer after he retired. However, things didn't quite turn out as he planned. The guy went $70 million in debt while only having $1.5 million left in the bank, forcing the Hall of Famer center to file for bankruptcy. No punchline on that one, that just hurts. It's unfortunate that some of these players don't know how to manage their money. It's crucial that you surround yourself with smart people that have your best interest at heart. Up next is another player who may have been an exceptional football player but wasn't a very savvy entrepreneur. Clinton Portis was a talented player, but money management wasn't his strong suit. With his NFL checks, he ventured into a realm that many would consider risky, investing in casinos. I mean, he had a financial advisor that told him to do it, so what could go wrong, right? Well, Portis ended up going bankrupt and threatened to murder his advisor. Oof, I'd hate to be that guy. These stories can make you cringe. And will cringe too if you don't like this video and subscribe to our channel. Really, your support makes a big difference. Up next is a player who proved how much of a difference one person can make. Chris Long decided that he had more than enough money and wanted to share some of his wealth. So in 2017, he donated his entire NFL salary to charities that support youth education. Karma ended up serving him well because he ended up winning a Super Bowl with the Eagles at the end of the season. Turns out nice guys don't always finish last. Chris Long is loved for his generosity. Unfortunately, others blew their checks on boozing and dancing the night away. Bryant McKinnie was an absolute party animal. And on one night in particular, McKinnie ended up spending his NFL check on a $100,000 bar tab. It sounds insane, I know. I mean, was the guy just chugging hundreds of bottles of champagne? Bathing in it? What? I guess if anyone could do it, it would be a 400-pound monster like McKinney. McKinney should have taken a page out of this next NFL player's book, because he managed to balance a crazy party life while still saving plenty of dough. What Rob Gronkowski did with his NFL checks might surprise you. Often seen as the life of the party, he's actually been a wise spender. Gronk claims he's saved his entire salary throughout his whole career and only dipped into his endorsement earnings. So he must be swimming in cash now because he made over $70 million in his playing career. Okay, that is straight up impressive. Clearly there is more to these guys than meets the eye. And up next is another example of that. Ndamukong Suh, known to be one of the dirtiest players on the field, is actually one of the most generous people. For example, he donated $2.5 million to the University of Nebraska, and he has also been known to make plenty of other charitable donations throughout his career. So try not to hate on him too much after he injures your favorite player with a cheap shot. Suh might be a cheap player on the field, but up next is a quarterback who is just cheap. Kirk Cousins might be a star NFL quarterback, but you would never know it by his lifestyle. Cousins doesn't just save and invest his own checks, he also shares financial advice with younger players on his team. For example, Cousins doesn't drive a Ferrari or a Lambo. Instead, he cruises around in a 16-year-old van that once belonged to his grandparents. Imagine that! If you think that's a little weird, you might be right. But Cousins claims he only buys things that appreciate in value, and that doesn't include a flashy car. Maybe being cheap isn't such a bad thing. Just ask the player that comes in at number 9. Formerly NFL safety Glover Quinn took cheap teasing from teammates in stride because he knew it was really about being smart. Quinn's financial strategy is simple yet effective. Live off 30% of his salary and invest the rest. He drove the same vehicle he bought as a rookie and focused on stable blue-chip stocks. This discipline paid off for him. After 5 years, his investments matched his 5-year NFL earnings of about $21 million. I guess Glover Quinn ended up getting the last laugh now that he's loaded, but you'd be surprised to hear that other players have taken a similar approach. Carl Nassib might not be the highest paid player in the NFL, but his financial strategy will make him one of the wealthiest in retirement. Despite a $7.75 million salary, he lives by a strict budget, only spending $3,500 per month on essentials like food and rent. On top of that, Nassib manages to save a remarkable 85% of his earnings, investing wisely in index funds. We could all learn a thing or two from Carl. Meanwhile, no matter how much you are banking, we don't suggest you spend it like a lunatic. Because before you know it, you could be out of the league wishing you saved some of your checks. Just look at Vince Young. Vince Young was the hot new quarterback of the Tennessee Titans, so he thought he could do whatever he wanted with his checks with no repercussions. Whoops. He once bought every seat on a plane for a flight. Why? Just because he wanted privacy on his flight. Unfortunately, his talent couldn't keep up with his spending habits, so he found himself broke and out of the league in short order. Too bad no one was giving Young financial advice. But up next is a player who wasn't just getting advice from a friend. He was trusting someone even closer with his paychecks. Darius Hayward-Bay took a unique approach to handling his NFL earnings. His mom was a certified accountant, so he trusted her with all his checks and she gave him an allowance to live off of. Kind of like a 10-year-old just with $38 million. Hey, Ma, I need my allowance today. It's for a new tool set, Ma. Hayward-Bay also had other tricks like cutting out his cable during the NFL season, but he must have got that trick from his mom. Saving money is one thing, but using it to make a greater impact in your community is taking responsibility to another level. And in some cases, like at number 5, players figure out how to do both at the same time. Former Titans linebacker Derek Morgan proved that financial wisdom goes beyond just saving. With a career earnings of $42.1 million, he made socially responsible investing a cornerstone. By aligning his investments with his values, Morgan's money supported causes like social justice and the environment while generating returns. He proved with his NFL checks how wealth can drive both economic and social progress, making a major impact on his community. Players spend their checks in all sorts of ways, but we don't recommend borrowing money that you can't pay back with your checks. Adrian Peterson raised eyebrows with his spending choices. While with the Vikings, he defaulted on a $2.4 million loan, leaving unanswered questions about its purpose. A lawsuit ensued, with Crown Bank seeking $600,000, and then he got charged with a lawsuit for injuring his child. By the time it was all said and done, Peterson's Hall of Fame-worthy career had come and gone, but he has no money to show for it. So he refuses to announce his retirement in hopes of earning more checks from NFL teams. You look at some of these players that seem to just play forever and wonder how the heck they do it. Well, I guess they invest their checks like this next star linebacker. Have you ever seen James Harrison? The guy was built like a freight train and can run like the freaking wind. He also managed to prolong his NFL career until he was 40 years old. But when you hear how he spent his NFL checks, it'll explain why he was such a unique beast. Throughout his entire career, he spent $350,000 per year on fitness and nutrition. Now, we don't really know what the hell that entails, but it clearly worked for him. James Harrison is an anomaly. Most players don't play anywhere near as long as he does, so they need to be cautious with their spending. For that reason, some people think that NFL players should earn more money. Wide receiver Sammy Watkins makes decent bank, but in his opinion, NFL players deserve more money. And he might make a fair point considering how high league revenues are. Either way, I hope he's not losing too much sleep about it because he's making millions of dollars playing football. And he spent one of his checks bailing his brother out of prison for $1 million. Whether or not NFL players deserve more money is an entirely different topic. But if they did, I wonder if more players would spend as wildly as the final player in our video. At one point in his career, Antonio Brown was the highest paid wide receiver in the entire NFL. And he wasn't shy about flexing his wealth. From arriving to training camp in a vintage Rolls Royce to giving his 9-year-old son a Rolex, Brown has proven that he has no fears about spending big-time dollars. And if you thought he would slow down his spending when he was unsigned, boy, were you wrong. He bought out an entire suite at the Super Bowl for $2 million. There you have it. That was how NFL players spend their checks. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, click on one of the videos currently on your screen to watch more of our entertaining NFL content.